them that she existed, that she wasn't just Andrew's quiet wife, but a person with her own intelligence and presence. She made sure people saw them together, happy, united, because she knew what was coming, and she wanted witnesses to the narrative Andrew was trying to rewrite. During this time, Margaret also reconnected with old friends and colleagues from her nonprofit days. She hadn't realized how isolated she'd become until she started reaching out again. These were people who remembered her before Andrew, who knew her as capable and strong, not just as someone's supportive spouse. She started having lunch with her former boss, who immediately offered her consulting work. She began rebuilding a professional identity separate from her marriage. Not because she planned to leave, but because she was preparing for the moment when Andrew would force her hand. She was creating options, building a safety net, ensuring that when the ground fell out from under her, she wouldn't fall far. The Donovan merger closed on a Tuesday in March. Margaret knew because Andrew came home with champagne and talked about it through dinner, his eyes bright with excitement, his voice full of plans for the future. He didn't say our future, he said my future, she noticed. That night, after he'd gone to bed, Margaret sat in her home office and reviewed everything she'd compiled over the past 2 months. 47 documents, 18 recordings, 6 witness statements from colleagues who confirmed her role in Andrew's major career decisions. A forensic accountant's preliminary assessment showing that Margaret's unpaid contributions to the household had allowed Andrew to invest aggressively in his career, resulting in wealth that wouldn't have existed without her support. She had enough, more than enough, but she didn't move yet. She waited 3 more days, watching Andrew's mood shift from celebratory to tense. She could see him building up to something, rehearsing conversations in his head. On Friday evening, he asked her to sit down. They needed to talk. There it was. The moment he'd been planning for months, maybe years. Margaret sat across from him at the dining table they'd picked out together a decade ago, the one she'd refinished by hand when they couldn't afford to buy new furniture. She folded her hands and waited. Andrew cleared his throat. He'd prepared a speech, she could tell. He started with, "I've been doing a lot of thinking." He moved into "We've grown apart." He landed on, "I think it's best if we separate." He was gentle about it, or at least he tried to be. He told her she deserved someone who could give her more attention. He said he'd been unfair to her, prioritizing his career. He promised they could do this civilly, that he'd make sure she was taken care of. He slid a folder across the table. Divorce papers, already drafted, already signed on his end. He'd even bookmarked the places where she needed to sign. Margaret looked at the papers but didn't touch them. Then she looked at Andrew, really looked at him, maybe for the first time in years. She saw the calculation behind the sympathy, the relief he was trying to hide, the impatience to have this conversation over. She saw a stranger wearing her husband's face. Margaret stood up slowly.